Yeah, I'd like to retire. I am retired. I'm looking after myself. Um, Canada sucks. I'm sorry, Ontario certainly does. I want to get a doctor. I gotta go online. Oh, she's so busy. Might as well not have a doctor. Um, Ontario, I don't want. I might have to bite the bullet and go out west. I don't know if she's as bad. They got some good systems there in place. Taxes are cheap. And they got nothing back on tax. I faced problems trying to get a business started. Um, Healthcare system, it's not getting a psychiatrist, it's getting the right one. They're only providing DSM boys. There's a guy down in the hall said, "You got bipolar symptoms, but you said you got trauma. You don't have both. You do have the symptomatic affective bipolarity, and that's trauma." He was in Granada, and a 50 cal machine gun was fired at him when he was a kid. I've met so many people bipolar, but it's all trauma. So I'm looking at Arizona. He's a psychiatrist in there. Look for the eyes of trauma. Start looking at their history, not pulling out a book and analyzing it. That was one of my issues. Now I'm trying to work on myself, but I got a problem with Bell now. They won't honor the contract. Phone needs repair and they won't replace it. So I'm gonna have to cut ties with them with TRCC ruling if I can get through. I feel isolated here. He's gonna get a girl in here to talk to me. You know, 1970s, I went down. My mother hired me to go down to an industrial psychologist, see what I'm good at. And I've been studying psychology of life coaching and the problem with people. My life was come from the times of hard luck, my parents. So I forgive them. But run the boy down, you might be better. Well, it doesn't work. I had no confidence until I started trying to do things. And I think people go for that. Your parents are military, eh? So they're carrying an ancestral, a genetic trauma. It's a genetic trauma that affects the DNA strand, but it is the life events of an environmental issue of what they've gone through. It's affecting and and changing DNA structures of called generational trauma. I feel very close to First Nations Indigenous people, and I never knew why. And then I found out my ancestry is Aboriginal Australia, and that's what they said. We know you're of Aboriginal descent, but not in this country, in Australia. So what were they doing to the Aboriginals? Quite a bit. And it's the same as Canadian First Nations. They're very humble people. They don't want much. The good people that are running these reserves and stuff, but they do want clean water and clean air. They don't ask for much. And I always wondered why I believe everything should have a sacredness. And it seems like we could learn from indigenous cultures the sacredness of everything, ceremony, ritual. It slows us down to be mindful. And we consume without mindfulness. And we're consuming and justifying destroying the planet without mindfulness. If we could, another thing I'm reading is multitasking. It's not natural to They call each one of the star red and gray. It's got labeled on it. It's an opinion called politics. It's written opinion, not facts. Opinion. They clarify that. Can you clarify it with the others? What the interim leader said about our Canadian Armed Forces was an opinion. They need more money. Well, I've seen them get more money. Market treatment. My master sergeant of the Canadian Armed Forces has done Kandahar missions, drinking at $33 drinks a night. In the bar alone, they call him he's a hero. Good politics. How do I know he wasn't lying? See, his iPad with all his missions on it. All his missions on there. A guy that can pull out an iPad. This is me. That's a Griffin. This is a machine gun. She shoots 1,000 rounds or faster. See it, boss? I said, yeah, I seen a whole stream going down there. There's 5 rounds to each stream and tracer. On each tracer. This is what they like on that. That's how fast they fire. He's a hero. He's defending American forces going in. So the interim leader, that blonde girl that was she started saying they need money. Well, that's what one vet said. We need money, boss. She said, oh, I listen to her. Hold on. We need programs. I want to tell you about resilience at post-traumatic stress. When you cure a veteran, he's got more resilience. He becomes a good leader in the company and runs trucking firms. They've done all that work. They're good, qualified businessmen. Once they're healed, they have resilience to run a car, trucking, transport, anything. They run convoys, everything. I've seen U.S. vets that have recovered, and I've seen ones that haven't. And I understand it. And the United States got a better program than Canada on PTSD. Personally, it's all online. There's another from when I talked to a CEO on LinkedIn here, and I said, whoa, you're saying Angus good? Yeah, I get mad. He's getting mad at Bell. But you gotta let it go so you can think what next to do. And it's the EFT tapping techniques. Journaling helps. So it wasn't too good. I get to bring food in and write out the money all the time. There's 2 solutions. Nursing home, die in the nursing home. I don't want to take drugs. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to light. I'm isolated here. Not a good income. And those solutions change the phone plan. You get the CRCC funds with it. Not go to a cheaper company. Be paying too long. And so you get frustrated. I started staying with coaching because I don't see people do business right. But they're big companies and they can do it. They're monsters, they're corporations. And the smaller mom and pop shop, you could deal with. Online companies are better. You're dealing with a distributor on Amazon. You might get some service. become a musician to cope with things. Resilience. I've always been a musician. And since 2015, I became a piano player. And I teach myself. I learn online. I started playing harmonica and learning online. Taking harmonica courses. Take everything online. I had like a piano teacher. I fired him. He's like, yeah. You ever get a teacher like that? Yeah. I'm a very sensitive guy. I don't like, your fingers, you're not getting those chords right. And then he comes back, what happened to you? Went online and got it down. You've gone 5 times higher than I was going to put you. What is that? You can't teach. I always had a trouble learning things. So I always looked at ways to help people learn. That's my guess. When I was in college, they couldn't wrap legs. Nobody knew how to wrap legs on horses. Well, I was a track bum. But what your saw Joner says, you friggin' bum. You worked at a racetrack. Listen, working at a racetrack, you learn to handle hot horses. Working at a racetrack, you wrap legs and you suffer. We're seeing no solutions. No solutions in the swelling of the hocks and junk. And then they show me these light therapy units. I'm listening. But that's in China. And it works. It's one of the better units. Dan was going to sell me a unit from West Virginia. Oh, Lord. North Virginia, 5,500 or 5,500 US. I don't know how it's going to be in Canada if I can't import from China. I think there's trade barriers. So I need a lawyer to see what he can do with trade barriers. These units are damn good. I talked to them. I'm not saying they're our allies. In Australia, they're not your allies. You're your trade partner. Or some guy said they're not our allies. I said, no, China isn't your ally. It'll blow you up if you get a bad prime minister like Scotty. Like you got rid of them. They were warning. You're pushing it a little far, Scott Morrison. Putting nuke subs in there. We will attack. Because you might arm them up with nuclear weapons. They don't know. You don't want to fight China. But she told me, Greg, we're at war with Japan. See, China doesn't like their getting their waterways polluted by. You nuked them. You nuked the water. So we could start working with China, or we could start cooperating, building good economy in China and in Australia. Canada is blocking trade with the CPC. Now, if they were more fiscally economic, they'd look at this and quit getting so partisan. I read an article, maybe it's a woke article from another paper that isn't so opinionated, far right. I noticed this is a far right political system with no changes. It went from we were trying to get fair voting in. We got 5 parties, but only 2 get in. So everybody's bitching, so they go back to the CPC. CPC won't make changes. The Canadian Progressive Conservatives don't make changes. They just attack. Paul Appy's no good. I wish I could hear something good about him. So I try not to be partisan, but I'd say they're both terrible parties. See, what the problem with Trudeau is he tried a neoliberalism that didn't work. And it was appeasing people. You can't make everybody happy. You can't keep the pipeline going. And that was one thing I was against. I was in the Green Party. We should leave the oil and sand. Yeah, it wouldn't make Alberta good, but I'll tell you what problem now. We're dependent on water. And another thing is Joe Biden just shut down the pipeline there in the Keystone. So Alberta is sort of trying to self-govern, and they got to get other infrastructure on the go there. This province is going down. Am I against Danielle Smith? Yeah, she doesn't like woke. She's really going against transgender, but there's a lot of transgender out there. But I'll tell you something. Do I like woke? I'm not going to get into it. I don't like hating people. And I have a belief that I respect all religions and all faiths. But you're attacking Mackenzie King one, and that was really bothering me. And I actually think Mackenzie King was right. You come into Canada, you bathe a lot of land. I'm not against Muslims or Hindus or people from India. But if you're beating your daughter and wife because the Quran says it, the law of Canada will throw you in jail as a kicker. But he says, no, that's not the Quran. You can follow the law of the Quran. You know, the mosques in Canada accommodate and work within the Canadian political system. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And I'm all right with your religions. I'm not against Muslims. I'm not against Hindus. I'm not against any faith. But they do come into in Australia, you have a law of the land. You can't just go and follow some sort of mega thing. You know, we don't polygamy. Maybe we should. There's lots of Mormons out there. I'd like to read the Book of Mormon and understand it. It was a Mormon man that got me well. Up in Raymond, Alberta, his family was all bipolarity. So he found true hope, and he's a nice man. All his kids had bipolarity. I'm got to the point of studying what's going on in our world. I'd say there's a lot of opinions and not much facts, and pointing things out as genetic is ridiculous. It's not. It seems to have gone under a eugenic healthcare system. There is certain things that we don't understand. The DNA molecule, we say there's junk DNA. What I'm reading is it's a part of the ascension. We're evolving into a higher consciousness, and we're probably going to a 5D consciousness. But to get there, we have to drop a lot of anger and more love. I know the 5D consciousness, and sometimes I'm not there. So I like to have food that sustains me. I don't have to have a lot of food, but affordable food, and I can't afford paying Bell these prices. I got into a contract, I had no supports, and I had trauma. And if I can tell you what trauma's like, I meet warriors come on here trying to get through the phone line. I got to get on the blower and think about them now. So I meet them and I say, hey, what's up? I've done 10 missions. I'm living in a tent. I can't get through on this phone. No, you can't. You can't communicate when you got the war in your back. And I'll tell you, it's not just police, it's just them. It's up north, I was talking to police, I could see trauma on their face. The crime rate is increasing. No cop lets get shot at. We've lost so many police in Toronto. Oh God, I was downtown one day. There's nice people around here that care about Toronto, but they got out because it was getting so toxic. I'm reading the paper and singing in the coffee shop. Oh my God! I said, look at this. Oh, that's not where it came from. They killed a police officer. Well, they killed a police dog too. And I'm a compassionate man, and I think of that officer and how he's trained with that service dog Bingo. He must be in grief, and I say prayers and hope his grief goes away. It must hurt like hell. Officer, I'm sorry for the loss of a great canine going in trying to do a job. I'm sorry for 2 police officers killed in Minnesota. I'm really sad. And what is it? Well, you got Indigenous people that are not getting help. You got a housing market over thing. They fired her, I found out. That was good. She was a narcissist. You can't have people like that in there. And they get into shelters. That was good to hear. I don't like mean people. And I was helping a young man that had, you tell me, he had compound PTSD. Now, I don't want compound PTSD. I don't want to struggle. I want to work and help people with it and get them to a retreat where it's quiet, doors are locked, and we give them food and recover them and work them on programs. We need a farmer retreat somewhere, probably Alberta or somewhere that's quiet. Maybe going towards Saskatchewan. So I'm living alone and I'm talking things out here, and I think I'll get on the blower and start looking at a federal program for PTSD. I called Wounded Warriors. I just get the wrong guy there. He says, brother, you're right. Just get in touch with the trauma therapist. I love our programs, and it's not just warriors. Young women are getting raped. Family violence, women abuse. There's a lot of problems in the world. Trauma comes in many forms. And I'm not against therapy. It's good therapy. So I just signed up for the organization that I'm going to finish it. It's a advanced modular I'm taking from Arizona on compound PTSD. Different model of the illness. I tried to explain it on LinkedIn and they cut me off. I said I got to do it myself and get some equipment and do some podcasting and write a book on it. And I know I had compound PTSD. Yeah, I get triggered. I always remind myself, Greg, you're triggered. Listen to you. He says, you triggered, Greg? Oh, hell yeah, I know I am, boss. And I admire anybody that says, Greg, I think you're getting mad. Gotta let go. I had to help a CEO with that in the United States. Because I've seen CEOs hold on to that and wham. It's going to kill you, brother. You know, whatever business you're doing, it's good to have anger. It's just emotion. I like what Dr. Wayne W. Dyer talked about it. And Dr. Gabo Mate is talking a lot about this anger. It'll eat you up. And he's human, and I'm human, and I get mad. And I really have to. I don't like saying things in anger. Because I have to come back and apologize. And, you know, you hurt people's feelings when you're angry. It's better to calm down. But I was really getting fed up. I don't like no option deals. So I'm going to have to get in touch with TRCC, fill the form out. I shouldn't have to go through this with corporations. But they're just losing my business if I get it through. I'm going to get them to pay it off, and won't use them. I thought they were a good company. Well, they got to be scrutinized. And, I used to say to myself, don't take it back. It's too much hassle. I tell you, if you don't take it back, other people